Mayor Adams wants Randy Mastro to be the city's new corporation counsel, but will the city council go along? So there are a number of people in the city council who have expressed reservations. What are you doing to win them over?
I'm going to meet with each and every city council member, anyone who'll meet with me, present my qualifications, my background, my vision for that office. And I hope through that process, they'll get to know me and what I really stand for and what I've really done in government and what I've really done since government. I've had the honor during these last few weeks of meeting with most members of the City Council, and I have found them to be open-minded and fair. All I ask for is a fair shot, because I love this city and I love the law, and the chance to come back into city government and combine those two passions to help do the public's good using the power of the law. That's why I'm so drawn to this. It's a calling, and I'm called back to public service, and I want to do this job for the entire city, including the city council.
So you want to explain to our viewers and to the city council what you actually do stand for, since you raised it just minutes ago.
Thank you. I'm a lifelong Democrat. My personal views are reflected in achievements in government and in what I have done in my pro bono and community service. I chair Citizens Union, New York's revered nonpartisan good government group, which I steered for the first time in its history, 120-year history, to endorse in a presidential race in 2020. We endorsed Joe Biden. I was vice chair of the Legal Aid Society, on the boards of Sanctuary for Families, CUNY, YMCA of Greater New York. In my pro bono work, I have for 40 years done cases involving civil rights, constitutional rights, social justice, human rights in the LGBTQ community. I have always sought to bring people together to achieve positive change in government, going back to when I was deputy mayor, reaching across the hall to unite the city council and the administration to have historic achievements like cracking down on organized crime at the Fulton Fish Market and private carding industry, for which I personally received death threats, passing the most sweeping domestic partnership legislation in the country protecting same-sex couples, and winning over, working with, as partners in government, Democrats in the city council, labor unions, to achieve the public's good. That's what I strive to do again when I come back to government, to bring both sides of the whole together, to represent the entire city government, and to achieve positive change for New Yorkers through a law department, 800 strong, putting more of their resources into affirmative litigation to protect civil rights, constitutional rights, human rights, social justice, and public safety, workers' rights, tenants' rights, consumer protection, environmental protection. The law department, moving more of its resources into that kind of affirmative litigation, can become a model for what a public law office should be. I stand on the shoulders of giants who've held this position, but I have a vision for this office to do more affirmative litigation, to do more to protect civil rights, constitutional rights, social justice, and public safety, and I have a passion for it.
So do you think, with all these credentials that are legitimately incredible credentials, do you think it's fair for many of the city council members to point out that you did work for Rudy Giuliani, who was a Republican?
Well, let's be clear. I was the ranking
You were a
Democrat in the administration.
You were, I remember.
And our administration is pro-choice, pro-gay rights, pro-immigration,
So it's unfair for them
pro-gun
to do
control.
it. So it's unfair for them to say he worked for Giuliani.
Well, I think you have to look at what we did and what I did in office. I was the one who shepherded through the domestic partnership legislation that provided the most sweeping protections for same-sex couples in the country at the time. That was bringing together a Republican Catholic mayor and a Catholic speaker to pass that historic legislation.
How difficult was that to do, given the fact that they had certain views at the time that may not have jibed with what you were trying to do?
Well, let's put it this way. At the end of the day, doing the right thing should always be easy to do. But I was very proud of that historic achievement, and the New York Times called it a legacy achievement.
So also they complain about some of your clients. You know, you did represent Chris Christie in the Bridgegate situation, and you represented Governor Phil Murphy to fight congestion pricing, which is sort of a very important point to a number of the progressive members of the city council. So how do you answer those people who say, we want congestion pricing and you were against it?
Okay. So first, it should tell you something about how respected I am as a lawyer, that a Republican governor and a Democrat governor both hired Randy Mastro to represent them. Second, I admit I have handled high-profile, sometimes controversial cases in private practice. That's what lawyers in private practice do, representing the firm's clients in their highest-profile matters and zealously, ethically, and getting the best results possible. To me, this should be a plus, that I get such successful results. Now I'm going to be getting them for you, New York City. Now I'm going to be getting them for you, City Council. That's the kind of lawyer I am, committed to serving and getting great results.
So if you are confirmed, I know you want to bring changes. Tell me about the changes that you would like to bring to the New York City Law Department that you think are very important in terms of changing their mission.
Well, again, I have profound respect for the law department. I was a consumer as deputy mayor, and as I said already, I stand on the shoulders of giants who have served before me if I'm fortunate to have this opportunity. But I do think that historically that office has focused on defending the city. There's so many lawsuits against the city. And while that is important and will continue to be an important part of the mission, I want to move more of the resources, more of those 800 lawyers, into doing affirmative litigation where we bring or we join lawsuits that protect civil rights, constitutional rights, social justice, workers' rights, tenants' rights, consumer protection, environmental protection, and public safety. We should be going after guns and gang violence and organized crime and illegal smoke shops. We can do so much more and join lawsuits as interveners, or what we call
Sounds
amicus.
like you want to make it a prosecutorial office.
I wanted to do both. New Yorkers deserve no less. And I think the great lawyers who were there and the great lawyers we can convince to come there will have the same passion for that kind of work that I have, and want to not only defend the city to the best of our abilities, but also to bring affirmative cases to advance that kind of agenda.
So we have about 30 seconds left. I'd like you to look into the camera and tell New Yorkers, tell the members of the City Council, why you are the best person for this job, bar none.
Thank you. I have two passions in life. I love this city. I love the law. And the opportunity to combine those two loves, to do the public's good, to return to do the public's good, and to use the power of the law to achieve so many good social ends and improve New Yorkers' lives, that is something I'm called to do. I will represent the entire city, both the administration and the City Council, and I vow to make you proud of what we do together for the public good. Please give me that opportunity.
And on that note, we're going to have to leave it right there for now, but our conversation does continue right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News, New York. We're back with a bonus conversation you'll only see here on CBS News, New York. So, Randy, what's the biggest challenge you've faced so far in your life?
Very good question. I think the biggest challenge I ever had in my life was when I was deputy mayor and I received organized crime death threats, and I had to explain to my 6-month pregnant wife that we were going to need round-the-clock police protection.
I'm sure she
because
loved that.
the Cosa Nostra was trying to kill me. And challenge in the sense that it was tremendous sacrifice on the family's part. My daughter was born. She had police protection. It was, in that sense, a difficult time. For me personally, it's part of what you take on for public service, right? I'd been a federal prosecutor, a deputy mayor. But for them, I was sorry that they had to go through that. But they've been so supportive. And they're supportive of me coming back again.
So when you have a big decision to make, who do you turn to for advice?
Well, for much of my life, the person I turned to, who was a role model and mentor and friend, was my father. My father, who always gave me good advice. He was a professor, political scientist, and an unbelievable role model. My family, my grandparents came through Ellis Island, immigrants, the sort of classic American immigrants story. And my father, first generation, goes off to graduate school to pursue his dream. He wanted to teach. My grandfather ran a small shoe store that employed much of the family. He drops dead of a heart attack. Wow. My father had to drop out of grad school and come home to save the family business, and went to NYU at night to get his PhD and continue to teach. And for me, he inspires me every day because he pursued his dreams and still accomplished his dreams. And now I'm pursuing a dream, which is to come back to city government and head the law department.
So what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
The best piece of advice I was ever given.
Stay out of government. No, just kidding.
Well, the best piece of advice I was ever given was, by my father, who said that he had been involved in local government and political science, involved in advising government officials and the like. I was very proud when I went into City Hall, and the advice he gave was, you go into government to get things done. Okay? You go in, it's not about party, it's about the public's good. And I always approached it that way. I didn't come out of politics. I'm a lawyer, I'm not a politician. But government has the capacity to do so much good, and he gave me that advice, and I have followed it ever since.
What are the three things that inspire you?
Well, first of all, what inspires me is the power of the law. I've used it so often in pro bono cases when Donald Trump and Bill Barr and other federal officials assaulted, tear-gassed, rubber-bulleted peaceful racial justice protesters in Lafayette Square, June 2020, after George Floyd's murder. Proud to represent them, stand up for their rights, shoulder to shoulder with Black Lives Matter, represented by the ACLU. And we pushed them back, and the Biden administration agreed to protocols to make sure that doesn't happen again. Representing black school teacher Janet Morgan on Long Island, who got fired for giving her 8th grade students an assignment on racism, won her job back, won her reinstatement. Proud moment. It's the power of the law. That's number one. Number two, what inspires me? What inspires me is my family. They have been an amazing source of support. They've been with me through the sacrifices of public service and then the sacrifices of private law practice, where they say the law is a jealous mistress. It's all consuming. But that brings me to my third, which is my passion for justice and doing the right thing. What so draws me to this position is we can do so much good if we do it together. The two sides of the hall just need to get together, and we can do so much.
Seems so difficult right now.
People said it though when I was in City Hall the last time, and my boss wasn't necessarily the easiest person to get along with, and there were lots of tensions on both sides of the hall. And you know something? We worked through them. And we developed relationships. We developed relationships with elected Democrats. unions. It's one of the things I'm proudest of that I did in that period of time, that so many elected Democrats, so many unions working so constructively with them that we got so much good done.
So, Randy, what's the one thing you can't live without?
One thing I can't live without is Italian food. I'm sorry, I'm Italian. I love Italian food, you know. So.
Do you have a favorite meal?
Of course.
So?
Of course. Okay. You have to have Caesar salad. You have to have veal parmesan with a side of pasta, and then you have to have tiramisu. That's my last supper.
I think everybody could get down with that. So, if you could live in any other place in the entire world, where would it be?
Okay. There's no other place in the world I would want to live than New York City. I grew up in the suburbs, and I always wanted to be here. That was my dream, and you know, they say if you can make it there, I love it here. But if I were going to live someplace else,
Yeah.
if I had to live someplace else,
If you had to.
so many of my friends from New York are now in Miami Beach.
You would move to Miami Beach.
I-
It's just not you.
Well, it's not really me, but you know, I have so many friends there. It would be like, you know, it's you know, a lot of New Yorkers.
I don't think New Yorkers are willing to give you up to Miami Beach yet.
Oh, I'm not going anywhere, and I, you know, look, they say the honor is in the nomination, but I really want to serve, and I'm called to service, and I hope to have that opportunity.
Thank you for joining me, and thank you at home for joining us as well.